Hey, John, I just interviewed one of your former co-stars from Grandview, USA, Jamie Lee Curtis. She had a great story to tell about how when she met you, she knew that you were going to be a success and that she gave you a gift during the filming of that.
She gave me a 1974 Chevy Impala that she christened La Bamba, and that was my first car. So I was out in, where were we? Pontiac, Illinois. It was a prison, like there's a prison and a Denny's there. We were filming there, and yeah, she gave me a $500 Chevy.
What was your reaction when that happened?
Well, you're 16 and Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting there and gives you a car. It's, you know, it's a win situation. It's a win-win.
You know,
Jamie was a win and the car was a win. Jamie was a bigger win. But then, of course, she married someone else, and you know, what can you do?
Yeah. You know, these days a lot of actors are doing voiceover work, which I find quite fascinating. Now, you did that quite early on in your career, didn't you, for McDonald's and Heinz?
Oh, you're going to bring up that, are you? This is, Jesus. Yes, I did. I did commercials when I was a kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff did they have you say?
What did I do? I was like, well, I wanted to, you know, act when I was young because I thought, you know, I might be good at it, and I also thought it would be much better than actually getting a real job. And they actually would pay you well, so I went and auditioned for commercials and hoped to take commercials into movie work. So, what did I do? I did like voiceover spots. And
you know, one thing that's always impressed me about actors is having to go through the audition process, and a lot of them are sweating on the inside or the outside. When you went in for your audition, to get an audition for Class, how confident were you about?
Well, I think it's interesting. You know, the audition skill is like a totally different skill than the actual acting skill, in a sense that, you know, when you get a part now, you sit there and you work on it and you get ready for the actual day of filming. So you don't, you know, you're sort of gearing up to film. But audition is you have to sort of walk through the door, and they don't want to wait for you to see you go from 0 to 60. They want you to come through the door, you know, at full speed. So it's like a muscle that you have to train, and you have to, you know, it's a skill, an audition skill. But like if I had to go audition now, I'd probably be really horrible at it. But back then, you were doing it a lot, so you sort of know you got to walk in the door with that kind of performance energy, and it has to be, even though it's not a performance, you have to sort of treat it as such. So it's a skill that you have to learn, and you know, that's the thing about it, is it's a tough thing to get. I mean, I know a lot of really terrific actors who are not great auditioners, and it's hard for them to get work.
Well, what did you do specifically on Class that impressed them?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I was just, you know, I had my chops up because I was acting a lot, and I was working on the stage, and I was auditioning a lot. And when you audition, you know, I mean, you play tricks with yourself, and you know, it's like emotional chemistry. You just try to get yourself in the right state of mind so that when you walk in the door, you're completely present. And you do it one day, and then one day you're out there in the lobby and you're sort of thinking about your part, and then something else crosses in your mind, and you realize that when you walked in the door you weren't ready. So then the next time you go, all right, I have to concentrate harder, or do whatever I need to do to get in the state of mind that will help me do a good performance, whether it's listening to some music in the car on the way over or whatever it is. So you learn some tricks, and I just got in and got lucky.
You know, there's a sequence in this movie that really impressed me. With just the raw physicality of it was the fight sequence by the lockers, and the fact that they had a lot of wide shots in that, and that you were, you know, doing a lot of impressive physical things.
No, we didn't have any stuntmen in it. Yeah.
Yeah, how exhausted were you at the end of that?
It was interesting because the guy who played Felix is Benny the Jet Urquidez, who's this kickboxing champion. He's a martial arts legend, and I trained with him. You know, on the outside, he's sort of my sensei, and I trained with him on the outside, and I did a movie called Say Anything, which is Cameron Crowe's first movie, and I played a kickboxer, and I sort of got hooked on the whole fighting thing, and I was in good shape to do the movie, but when we did that scene, I sweated through 3 suits in 6 hours, and Benny, Sensei Urquidez, you know, he had like a drop here, drop of sweat here. You know, he was totally cool. I was drenched, you know. So I was in good shape, but he's in a whole other world.
You know, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Dan Aykroyd not too long ago for a film, and just a fabulous storyteller.
Yeah, he is.
Like, how big a thrill for you? Because you must have grown up watching Saturday Night Live. You know,
he was like
him.
The stuff that he did on Saturday Night Live and in Neighbors and the Blues Brothers, and you know, I mean, then he moved on and you know, did other things and did some more serious work, and but that sort of comic, that dark anarchy and insanity that he has, and that was very, I mean, influential to me. I mean, that blew me away when I was growing up. I think his energy, and like John Cleese and that Monty Python energy, I mean, that stuff I thought was just genius. So it was a great thrill to have him, you know, work in the movie and sort of do another really twisted role that he, you know, like that he used to do. Because he hasn't done one of those in a while. It's good to see him.
You know, I got a question about dealing with being a celebrity. The Sure Thing. That was one of the first movies I ever reviewed, and I loved it. When that movie came out, was that your first real taste of what it was like to have people recognize you?
Yeah, yeah.
And how did you deal with that? Was it hard?
It's a strange thing to deal with it, but you know, what do you do? I mean, you have to sort of deal with it and sort of forget about it. But it is strange. I don't envy the people who become, you know, that famous that early. I mean, I had a pretty good taste of it, but you know, the people who become just huge, like the.
You know, it was funny. I saw you at the Rock premiere on Alcatraz when you were walking by, and you're walking past the lineup, and all these people shouting your name. The first time you were confronted with something like that, did you have other actors who kind of braced you for it, or did you?
No, the first time when you first do that stuff, it's like it's fun for like, you know, a month. You know, it's almost like cocaine is good when you do it for the first 20 minutes or something like that. I mean, it's like this rush, you know, and you think that it'll last. You know, it's like this high, but it's not really anything that feeds you after a while. So it's fun for a minute, but then you realize that it has nothing to do with anything really. I mean, you're basically just another prop that the media is using to sell their TV shows or their magazines. So you're very interchangeable with anyone else who they consider of a status in which that they can get an interview and sell pictures, or, you know, they're basically trying to sell soap for Entertainment Tonight. They're just peddling Palmolive. So they want to put me up there and whoever else. So it doesn't really have anything to do with your work or your person. And the only reason I can usually not even think of a good or a bad reason to do press, but the only reason I can think of a reason is to promote something that you're doing, if you believe in it. But the celebrity thing, I think, is death for an actor, because I think people want to find out about a person's point of view from the work that they choose to do, and how actors express themselves is through their work. So if you become a celebrity and then you go on the talk shows and everyone knows everything about you, well, why go see a movie? I mean, you know, they'll take you out of the character, and you know, you're out there on Oprah and Jay every 3 months, and you know, you're just a personality. So I think you have to sort of keep a little bit removed, so people can want to find out about what you want to say in your work.
Yeah.